Yeah, it was a good time, honey, under the sky. Yeah, it was a good time, honey, just you and I. Feeling alright.
Hey, this is Evan from All Wheels Podcast. Just a heads up, we're aware that this episode has some issues with the audio getting out of sync. You'll notice in some spots where our conversation is not lined up correctly. Unfortunately, we had some issues with our recording software and had to complete this episode from a backup file that already had this problem. Hopefully, you can still get some useful information out of this episode, and we'll keep working hard to not have this kind of problem going forward. Anyways, enjoy the episode. Thanks for sticking with us. Hey, welcome to All Wheels Podcast. This is episode 5, I guess, if we're counting our intro. And this is going to be part 2 of our motorcycle maintenance series, I guess, that we started last time. We ended up having too much info, so we split it up into a second episode. So,
well, you were very kind to say it was info. It was
well, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see when we get some feedback. It might be good info.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
like, what are you assholes talking about?
Okay, so I'm Evan, and I'm here as always with Brady and Max.
How you guys doing?
Yo.
And girls.
And why don't we jump into this? Because we recorded our other one a couple days ago. I don't know that we have tons of what's in the shop to discuss, do we?
Well, you know,
it sounds like you do. Okay.
Yeah, Brady always has
known.
the cool shit.
All right,
I got nothing.
What amazing car are you working on now?
No. It's I brought it up, but I really didn't get into it last time. But the 41. I think I said 51 on accident, but I was working on the 41 Chevrolet Master Deluxe.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
And so I was then.
I love that name, the Master.
Yeah.
That's
Deluxe.
That's how you know.
It's not Master is not good enough, or Deluxe.
Exactly. Well, they had a just regular Deluxe. Then they had a Master Deluxe. And they had like a business coupe also, which is like same platform. But
Wait, was there a Master though? Was there just a Master?
I mean, is there anything better than that? It's like that's basically Jedi level. Right there.
Yeah,
exactly.
seriously. They really got creative with car names in the like 40s and 50s and shit.
The Supreme Excellency Master Deluxe.
Well, the
Golden Hawk Mega Rocket.
The business coupes are really cool because during that time, there was still like a lot of door-to-door salesmen.
Yeah.
And so I don't remember all the details. I'm sure someone listening will, but they had, I want to say there was no rear seats, and like the trunk space was much larger, so you could fit all of your products or whatever that you were going around selling door to door.
Plus, they just have that rad look with they usually had a longer trunk and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a shorter cab.
Yeah. Growing up, my
cool.
dad always called those butt cars. They had big old butts.
They do look like it, but
now
they make some of the
Beyonces
raddest customs, I think. They're super cool.
Whoa, look at that thing. I had to Google it.
Wait, so what is the Master Deluxe? Is a 2-door or 4-door? I don't
2-door.
really know anything about them. It's a
2-door.
41?
Looks like.
Yeah, 41.
Yeah.
I gotta look this
Thing's
up.
rad looking.
Master.
What?
Yeah, it's all pretty much original. There's a story behind it, but I don't remember completely. So I won't get into it. But
is this thing
is
custom?
it a stock motor, or have you had to do the motor and stuff?
So I've done just kind of for the most part, the car, I think it has like 46 original miles on it. Not 46, 46,000, sorry.
Okay, I say what?
No way.
I missed the K in there. And it's all original, really, for the most part. I think last episode I mentioned it was like repainted, like somewhere in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, somewhere on there. But it still has the fabric. What's it called? It's not. That was
polyester. No, just kidding.
Mole hair or something like that.
Oh yeah, that kind of brown. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's more like taupe, if anything.
Yeah,
but all original, like perfect condition.
Cool.
Like it's a really cool car.
What was the motor? A Flathead 6 or something?
Yeah, so it's the inline 6. This one is the 216 variety.
Yeah. It's got to be a flathead, right? Being early.
Yeah,
40s.
it's called a stove bolt motor.
Yeah, stove bolt. That's right. Yep.
I mean, as basic as you can get.
Those are cool, man. That's
yeah.
going to be bulletproof.
So I've just kind of been going over it. It's been sitting majority of its life, aside from like startups here and there. So I went through and retimed it, set the valves, and there was like 2 dead cylinders because the valve lash was like there was like a 1/2 inch of rocker like lash between the top of the valve and the rocker.
Whoa.
So and it scared the crap out of me because my first instinct was, okay,
that must have made a lot of
we've
noise.
got a dead cylinder here, or dead lobe on the camshaft.
Yeah.
Like it just ground all the way down.
Right.
So what I did was just kind of, because I didn't want to I don't know, I was just being cautious with it. So I just snuck the lash on it, like snuck up on it. And then once I saw like it was getting like same lift as say the other ones,
Right.
so I was like, okay, the camshaft's good. Scared the crap out of me though. So then I went ahead and just I lashed it with like tooth owl on top.
Yeah.
Just to kind of
Just to be safe.
yeah.
Does that have like a access panel or something on the side of the motor you take off, and then you can get to all the valve adjustment?
No, you just take
Stuff
the
is,
valve
like, on the
cover
side?
off. And
You have to pull the entire head off to adjust that?
so it's not a flathead.
Oh, it's not a
No,
flathead.
no, it's a push rod
On a 41?
on the 41. Yeah.
Oh, no shit. Okay. I've had like late 40s and early 50s Plymouth, and they were always flatheads. I just
That was a
assumed.
flathead V8.
No, flathead 6s for sure.
Oh,
and
really?
a Plymouth and Dodge. Yeah, I've had a couple of them. It was
did
a
not know
two something. Yeah, and they were like late 40s, so I just assumed 41 was definitely not
Yeah.
a push rod motor, but I know nothing about them. I was just assuming.
Oh,
Well, that makes sense. That's a lot easier to adjust, though.
Yeah, exactly. So the book actually, it's funny. There's a few funny things in the book. This isn't really it, but the book wanted me to adjust it while it was running, but that just seems silly.
That's what I do on my like Falcon 5.0. I just set them with it running.
Right when you hear a tick, then you back off a hair.
Yeah. I've always
but-
found that was the easiest way to just get them perfect, doing them by sound, you know?
Yeah, that's how you do, or at least.
But
how
I've never seen
done
a
the-
service manual
Oh,
tell you
yeah.
to do that. I thought that was like an old guy thing that just says like, hey, this is the easy way to adjust them. Do it by sound.
But
That's funny.
so I did the adjustment there, just kind of a tune-up kind of deal. Didn't replace a spark plug, surprisingly, but
Where'd
it's
this
really
car
fun.
come from? Was it sitting for a long time?
yeah. So it was in this. I mean, this is why I didn't want to get too much into the history of it. I know it's pretty cool, but I don't remember a lot of the details. It was in like a massive car collection.
Okay.
And the guy passed away. This was all, I think, like 10-something years ago, maybe even more. Guy passed away, and the kids kind of were in charge of it, and they just were getting rid of everything.
Wow.
But I guess more of the cool part of it is what the guy had, which I'm not going to remember. But my boss, he's got an incredible memory, and it's his, so he would know. But when we have him on, because I think that would be a fun one to have. He can probably get into some of those cars.
Yeah,
But,
I'd love to hear all that.
Yeah, so I'm just getting kind of going through the whole thing. About a year and some ago, I bought a front end rebuild kind of set. It's got like a kingpin front end. So I'm just now getting to it for the most part.
Those are kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
From my experience. I lowered my 51 Ford last year or 2 years ago, and with a Kingpin front end that you had to, I forget what the deal was. It was new steering knuckles or something, but you had to reuse the original pin and everything and disassemble the whole thing. And it was a pain in the ass, man, putting it in the vise and just beating the shit out of it to get it apart. To swap parts over and stuff. Like it's not like it's complicated. It's just they can be really stubborn after being on a car for, no matter how nice the car is, they can just be a pain in the ass to get apart.
Well, for me, I mean, because the car had like terrible death shake at like, it was around like 45. It would just violently like rip the steering wheel out of your hand. So a lot of it probably is old tires. It's still on like old bi-splice, but
that'd make a difference.
But also, I mean, it's all original like front end stuff too. So we ordered like a whole replacement bushing, Kingpin, everything.
Nice
kit a year ago. So I'm just kind of getting to it now. I think he's probably going to end up selling it at some point.
Yeah.
But and there was quite a bit of slop. So I've done one.
I feel like
already.
Nobody services those things right. If you look at the manual, at least thinking of my Ford shoeboxes, like the service manual says something like full chassis and suspension grease at like every 1,000 miles. And of course nobody ever did that.
Exactly.
Maybe they did the first 10 years they were new or something. But
if that.
But after that, nobody ever did it, and that shit like does not last.
Oh no, like the grease that was in, say like the bushings and everything I pulled apart, it was like as hard as plastic.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But yeah, so I got one side done, and then I took a half day today, so that's where I kind of left off. I just got the Kingpin out on the passenger side, but
right on. That's cool. Nice. That's a sweet car.
It's cool, and it's like the 3 on the tree is just so much fun. The starter, the foot starter on it too is awesome. It's just so literally like you're pushing a rod that just contacts the closes the connection as a solenoid.
That's awesome.
A manual solenoid.
I looked that up. I didn't know shit about that motor. I've heard of this Stobolt 6-cylinder, but that was like a fairly advanced motor for the time. That's pretty rad.
I mean, they put them in everything too.
But
they had a lot of variations too. Like I think they had like a 230, 260.
But being a pushrod motor from, let's see, only engine offered by Chevy from 1929 until the advent of the small block in 1955. That was crazy. I was just assuming it was like all the other guys still using ancient motors in the early 50s, and like that was pretty high tech for. That's cool. I've never owned one. I just heard the name of it.
Yeah, 60. They're cool.
Nice, really cool.
Yeah, I mean you can hop them up too and get like 60 horsepower out of them.
60 horsepower. Nice. Yeah, that'll do it. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm just working on that. I knew going in like the goal was to get rid of this death shake, but I know it's mostly in the tires, but we have it, so I might as well.
Yeah, might as well. You're on the right track to do all the suspension and stuff.
And they looked pretty good under there too, so it wasn't too bad. The Kingpin did have quite.
Do you get free reign?
Yeah.
So I know.
Do you get free reign? Like when you walk up to these cars, you just tell them,
that'll make a
here's what I want to do. This is what I think it needs. And he's like,
I mean, I got
sweet.
the thing.
Or does he say, I want you to do this, this, and this? Okay.
For the most part, I mean, like he'll give me like a focus. So it's like, all right, we want to focus on, say, the 41. Deluxe, and then
because he has a plan to sell it, or he wants to drive it and wants a certain,
honestly,
it amount finished.
A bit of both. So the like the 30 Model A I was working on, that one, it was kind of to like get ready to sell, and then like as I didn't build that one. but so it never ran right ever. A freaking wheel fell off.
Oh,
so
shit.
It sat for a while. Which
Did
I
they
had
ever
nothing
turn
to
out
do.
too rad and the guy just doesn't want to sell them because like he has you fix it up to sell it and then it turns out to be too cool so he can't get rid of it?
Well,
'Cause
that's
I feel
kinda
like
what I'm
that would
getting
happen to
at,
me
where
all the time.
so it was just kind of, all right, go through it, fix what needs to be fixed, and then kind of get ready to sell it.
Yeah.
And then so I found all of these issues with it, and got it running like pretty damn good. And now he wants to keep it because he loves it so much.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that's something
Yeah.
too. Like if you got a car that just isn't quite right, but you don't necessarily know it, getting it right, like it changes the whole car.
Yeah, for sure.
Or a motorcycle. So
I just would want to keep everything after that. After
Yeah.
fixing it up a
So
little
he's
bit, I'd be
gonna-
like, well,
he's gonna hold on to it for a while. Then I mean, maybe
Nice.
summertime comes around. I mean, it's a perfect summer car, so it's a roadster.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll look into getting rid of it, but I think most of the time he wants to keep everything, but space is always an issue. Time is
Yeah.
always an issue.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only so much I can do before what I just fixed. Now I have to go through again because it sat for 6 months. But
yeah, right.
But I mean,
So
I do.
rad.
I have every Friday. I do a fire up Friday, so anything that
Fire up.
can run.
That's awesome.
I'll fire it up.
Yeah,
let
let's
it
do a
kind of
podcast there and we'll go drive around.
Run, do some cycles, and yeah, it's
Well,
a
I'll
fun
just
day.
come out and test drive everything for you on
Yeah.
Fridays. It'd be fine. I'd volunteer.
Hey, do you know what? I'm sure. I mean, that battery in the Lincoln is massive. It's probably like the same size as diesels. We could hook up
That
an
thing is-
inverter and just do a freaking
Just record off of that.
Yeah, we can do.
Yeah, like
a
Jay Leno's
cruise
garage type shit,
episode.
you know? I mean, he
Mhm.
drives around and talks about cars and
Well,
shit.
yeah, exactly.
Why can't we do that? That's awesome.
But yeah, so that's what's going on in my shop. I don't know what I'm going to work.
Do you have
on
like a
after this
whiteboard?
one, but
Do you have a whiteboard that you put
Oh, I'm sure you'll find something
like
super
what you need to
sweet
do
and
next? And
rad and
Yeah.
old to work on.
I'll probably.
That's awesome.
gotcha.
I do have a whiteboard, but I don't use it. I have in my phone. I have notes for each
Oh,
car.
nice.
When a while back, I did like a full 360 inspection on every vehicle, and then just kind of listed off the stuff
Yeah.
that needs to be done, prioritize like urgent, just an annoyance or anything.
Right.
So once I get to a car, I'll start.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I'll start addressing all the issues. There's actually a broken exhaust hanger on the Lincoln that I haven't fixed yet. I need to remember that for tomorrow. But
Damn. That's some cool stuff.
but yeah, that's what's in my shop.
Well, I haven't really done anything new since last time we talked. Oh, we were talking before we started recording. I have my 77 Triumph T140 back on the road after a top end rebuild, and it's running great and it's a ton of fun to ride, but it is smoking like a motherfucker. So we were discussing possible causes for that.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I don't know. I'll have to report back on that. Brady had a good suggestion that maybe the crankcase breather is plugged, so we'll see.
Yeah.
But
or
it's like 25 miles on a new top end, so I don't know. Maybe it's just rings haven't seated yet. I'm hoping.
I don't think
or it
so.
could be
it's they
bad
wouldn't-
valve
they wouldn't
guides, I
smoke
don't know.
that much.
What-
yeah, it's
did he
pretty
re-
excessive. I've got a video of it
Did he re- did
that
he
I sent to our
respond?
buddy Billy, who does Triumphs, and I was like, yeah, I think something's wrong, man. it'll blow clouds
He said,
sometimes. It's
yeah.
really
He said ride the Beamer. I'm just
yeah,
kidding.
he did. I forget what he said. I have to look. I don't remember. He gave me some suggestions too, but basically, well, at this, I'm just gonna keep riding. I mean, it's not hurting anything, but it's certainly burning oil. But I figure pretty much everything to accurately diagnose it means taking the top
Gotcha.
end, at least pulling the head again, which is not hard, but I don't want to do. So for right now, I'll just keep riding it and see if it stops smoking. Ignore the problem. It's really only the people behind me's problem. It's not really mine. So we'll see.
Yep. Yeah, I'm going.
What about
I
you,
don't really
Max?
think of
You-
anything else
This is
for
actually
You got
it's an airhead that I've
A
never
line
owned,
on
which
a
is
old airhead or something, right?
amazing
Didn't you
to
say
me.
you got
I
that
think
lined
I swear
up?
I've owned everything, but this is a 1973 R75.5, which is the
Hard to
only
find.
year
Yeah.
that the R75.5 was a long wheelbase. Because the next generation was the one you have, which is the /6, and but this has the toaster tank and the chrome side panels,
Yeah.
and it's such a good looking bike. It's been in a barn for 30
Yeah.
years, so I'm gonna go pick it up in May. Yeah, put some gas in it. Yeah, spray a little WD-40 in there.
Yeah, so it just needs
Yeah,
a,
since I'm not able to
car
ride for a
clean.
while, I just figured it would be a really
Spark-
good,
spark plugs.
a year-long project while I nurse.
Yeah,
my
she'll
leg
be
back
fine. It's a
together.
BMW. Yeah, I think it'll be great. Yeah. Well, I looked this up when you sent that
Yeah, it's
bike
like
about the long
Th-
wheelbase
2 or
thing, and I
3
realized
inches,
I didn't really know the
Yep,
difference.
that's it.
So I looked it up the other day, and apparently it's only like
For
2 inch and a half, 2 inch difference or something. So I didn't realize that they actually used
That's
That's
pretty
it.
substantial.
same-
Yep.
No, it is,
Yep.
but unless
Yep.
the only way
Yeah.
you even notice it is if you look at the swing arm, like at the drive shaft housing, and you see the welded extension on. I didn't
Yeah.
know any of that.
I've had 2
So
or
they
3
actually
of the
use the standard short wheelbase
And just
drive
No.
shaft
weld
or swing arm, and they
some
welded
extra
an
tube
extension.
on
They
it.
I've
Yeah,
had a couple of the
you can see it.
Hopefully they didn't do
short
that to
wheelbase
the actual
models.
drive shaft.
and they're definitely they feel a
I
lot
don't know.
squirrelier. The last one I did steering head bearings and I did the whole kit and caboodle, and it rode great, straight as an arrow. Loved riding it up the canyons because you could push it around so easy. But I've always wanted to, again, this is the only year of the long wheelbase, and I'm pretty excited to go. Oh, it's just got, it's just, that's it, If you wanted a long wheelbase /5, you had
Are
to
they
find, it's
worth
kinda
more
like
or
the
something? Like, what's the
1977
what's the deal with
R75/7. Like, is it that much better than an R80/7? Who knows? But you can only get it in 77, so it's got that, for. Yeah, no, they're fucking same. It's just goofy. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just makes it more difficult to find parts.
Yep. Yeah. Because by the time they went to the /6, they
Well,
just had a whole new
from
swing
what I
arm.
read, there's literally
That
no
was it.
mechanical differences or anything. It's just a swing arm
Yeah, it was
extension.
already. They started making. They never
That's
went
it.
back
There
from the
was
long
nothing
wheelbase.
else.
It just became the standard.
which is already longer, right?
They
It's the
are.
same length as
They
the-
are.
yeah.
If you can get a 70, 70 or a 71
So then
or
why
a 72,
isn't the short wheelbase
right
bike
now
more
they're super hot.
sought after?
They're selling for
Like,
8
that's
or
the
9
one that's
grand.
different. Oh, it is. Okay.
That I had. Yeah, that was
Well,
short
what was
wheelbase.
that?
Yeah.
That 71/5. The one
the
that
70
I was working
Get
on.
into
What, that
real
was a
deep
short
geek
wheelbase,
BMW talk.
and that's
Yeah, so
more
the
valuable
70
because of that.
and 71, they had these
Because I just don't know
aluminum
anything about
blinkers
/5s.
with little
I'm not-
reflectors on the
I
end.
know nothing about them.
And so everybody took them off or changed them or upgraded them, and so if you could find one that had those,
Oh, come
Yeah.
people geek out. I saw a set of 4 of those sell for I think $800 the other day on eBay. Yeah, they had them. Yep, and it was all. I mean, except for the paint that I did, it was all pretty original.
Really? Holy shit!
So
Wait, did your bike have them? Didn't it have aluminum housings? That's what I thought.
I totally agree. Yep. And then by
Yeah.
72 and 3,
Well, those were
they're
nicer
still
than
aluminum,
the
all the way into
plastic
the
housings on
/6, the first year of the
/6.
/6.
That's for sure.
Still had
they
aluminum.
look nicer.
And then not till 75 did they go black plastic. But they didn't have those little stupid reflectors on the outside. So that's ridiculous how geeky this stuff gets. And then 73,
Okay.
I don't know if you saw that picture, but it's got those chrome side
yeah.
panels. Those
That's what the
truly
deal-
only ever came on the long wheelbase. And so people use them and stick them on the other ones, but they only came that year. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Just
That's cool.
nonsense stuff. The stuff that used to annoy the hell out of me.
Got it. Oh, that's cool. There's so much stuff. I always assume like with
Dude.
airheads, you know way more than I do, and I always look at them and I think like, oh, they're all
I
the
saw
same.
this
and
thread
then
on
you hear like
BMW
somebody
airheads
like you
on
that knows
Facebook
them
where a
better
guy
talk
was like,
about
"I
it.
just took these
There's
heads
so
off
many
my
little tiny
75.5.
differences between them.
And you
But
should have seen. He's like, I can't date them, and there was like 79 answers. Someone was like, no, if you measure from the fins, but in 78 there was 1.3 millimeter difference. I was like, what? I was like, how does anybody even know this?
Oh my gosh. Oh my.
nice. That sounds about right. Well, so the other
Yes.
day I put on.
Yes.
Remember my so on the 70. God, I can't keep these all straight. Mine's a 76, right? An R90/6. So, and remember I told you the center stand was trashed on it. One leg of the center stand was like crumpled in. So it was just unusable because the bike couldn't set up right. And Billy, our buddy Billy, who's built some really nice bikes, Airheads and Triumphs and stuff, he had a really nice side stand off of his R90/6. He had replaced it. It was really funny because I had asked Max and Billy, and I'm like, hey, does any of you guys have a side stand sitting around? And Billy goes, well, I have one, but it's
probably
pretty
perfect.
banged up, like it's in bad shape or something. And I'm like, well, is it straight? Like, do the legs, are they the same level? And he's like, yeah, and he goes,
tang.
oh yeah, no, the legs are fine. He's like, it's in bad shape because the little foot lever that sticks out that you catch your foot on to pull it down, had snapped off on his, and somebody had welded a replacement onto it. And so he it was really funny because he's like, yeah, it's not in great shape, but you're welcome to have it. So I get it from him. Thing is like flawless, except for a repaired
welded, like,
little
round
foot
bar
peg
on
thing
it.
on it. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, I'm constantly, because I love Billy, he's the best guy ever. He is like perfectionist, built flawless, beautiful motorcycles,
gold,
and
yeah,
I'm way more
yeah.
slap it
Yeah.
together. If it functions, I'm happy. So I look at Billy's part that he wouldn't use, and I'm like, this thing's perfect. I've never seen a better center stand in my life. It's great. But it's nice because we've got a lot of through all of our buds that build these bikes and stuff, we have a lot of good opinions on it.
Yeah.
Some guys like really restore stuff, some just slap them together like me. So
Sweet.
I can certainly benefit from nice parts from that. So so anyways, mine now has a good side stand or a center stand on it.
Yeah.
It took all of 5 minutes to swap. That was pretty easy. All right. So anyways, I guess that's what we've been working on. Let's continue motorcycle maintenance. I think last time we covered a bunch of stuff, and we even considered finishing out our episode, but we decided there was just too much good stuff still to talk
Yeah.
about maintenance, so there was no point cutting it short. So we're going to continue
Well,
on
I
with that.
feel like
think
I
we
really
stopped
wanted to.
talking about
I wanted to stop
right
there
about
and
tires
not rush
last
to it
time.
because I
So
feel like
let's jump in on that.
it's one of
and
those things
start,
that I learned.
talking about looking at tires.
Sadly, luckily and sadly the hard way, which was just the absolute importance of tire pressure and the date on your tires. Like, that is what contacts the road. That is what you are leaning against. That is everything
Oh, yeah.
between you and the asphalt. And so I remember, in the beginning, and I'd ride around and be like, God, my bike just like rides like shit right now.
Mm-hmm.
The front end feels heavy and sluggish. And I would check my pressure, and it had gone down to like 18 pounds or 20 pounds, and then just refilling it back up to 36, 38, and then all of a sudden the bike is back. And so now for the last oh my God, I don't know, 20 years, like I religiously, on my bicycles, on my vehicles, on everything, I just never go out on it without 38 and 40 in the rear. And just also because I just want to enjoy it so much more. But I know tons of people still who that's just an afterthought. Like they just get out there, they ride their bike, once a month, and then it sits for another month, and they get back on it. And I'm just like, I'm always amazed at what people can tolerate.
Wasn't it crazy how much of a difference? I noticed that. What bike did I just ride the other day that was sitting? The Dyna, maybe, that had been sitting for a couple months. In the winter. I haven't touched it, and I rode it around work or something the other day, and was just like, something is off. Like you could just feel the front end was heavy, like something, but it wasn't horrible. And I hadn't ridden the bike in a couple months, so I was just kind of like, yeah, whatever. but you could tell something was off. And then I was like, well, shit, I should
Right
probably
back.
check the tire pressure.
Yep.
And it was down, I don't remember, 6-7 pounds or something. And I topped it off and then did another lap, and it's like right back to perfect handling. And you're just like, oh shit. Yeah. And here,
Yeah.
you know, we let bikes sit a lot in the winter,
Yep.
especially. You're not riding
And
them a lot. So you're totally right. It's really dumb to not just take the 2 seconds to check that. Can make a massive difference.
Yeah, and that's also in most people. Let's just say like weekend riders. I mean, I can't even say most people, but that is kind of like included on a
Safety
say
maintenance.
if you
or
look
safety
up
check.
a list of like things to like just check before you get on the bike. That is always on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you only have 2 wheels. So
Yeah.
if one's bad,
Seriously, that's
half
what
of your tires.
I've gone on some ride with
And,
friends.
I do
and
think
they
it's the
pull up
most recommended maintenance
chain,
thing
yep.
and
It's
like the least done.
But just been on
Yeah.
rides with
You know what I
friends,
mean?
can see when they
Like, you're
pull
totally
up.
right.
I'm like, dude.
chain
Yeah.
tensioning is
First they
done
like
before
struggle to
that.
turn into the parking lot, and I can see the tire. I was just like, bro, you got to go over and fill that thing up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Oh
Yeah.
well, that's their canyon pressure. Their canyon
pressure.
rip tire pressure.
That's funny. I really try to be like, I'm not great about it, but I try to pay attention because
scary.
of those flat tires I got 2 years ago now. Like those freaked me out. I got one. I was riding our buddy Billy's R69S and was doing 65 maybe, which is, you know, fairly quick for that old bike. And that thing, I picked up a nail and in the tube, and it went flat. You know, I'm doing 65 on this ancient bike, and it went flat so fast.
Yeah.
And I got it down, and I somehow didn't drop it, but I was just thinking like, oh my God, I was more worried about trashing Billy's beautiful, like super valuable BMW. But after that, I was like, that actually really bugged me for a while. Like I had a million flat tires in my life, but that one I was just like, I couldn't get out of my head. Remember Max, we were riding our bikes up to Montana, and I like was freaking out about the rear tire. We had to stop so I could check my tire pressure like 3 times because it kept bugging me. It was
And
just
then
like,
the other one,
something's off. I might be getting a flat again. So yeah, it's certainly worthwhile checking that stuff. Absolutely.
Mhm. And do you know what I just thought of is like they even make pressure gauges like for your keychain too. Like that's something
that's a good
that
idea.
is good just
Actually.
to have on you at all times, because when you don't have one or when you need one, you never have one.
Yeah.
I mean, that's also one thing, like a good saving.
Well, they're so
cars,
cheap.
too,
Put them
like-
on every bike.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
Which I don't do. I don't follow my own advice at all.
No.
I have one in my tool roll, and it never goes on a bike unless I'm on a trip. But,
I've blown up more
but yes,
of those
put them on your bike.
cheap tire.
Well, the other thing
pressure
too is
gauges.
you know, when you run like your
then
rear
I
tire, if you run
bought,
it low
So
and you
sorry
take a
who-
200-mile
who's
trip
ever
on it,
actually
like you
stolen,
just wore such a flat spot in that. I mean, motorcycle tires are a bitch because they're not cheap, and you always have to pay up the wazoo to
Yeah,
get them
torch to
Or,
tire.
you know,
yeah,
to,
definitely.
get them out and balanced and stuff. And it just seems like if you take care of your tire, if you just, I had a set of Shinko 702s on a BMW/5. I swear to God, that thing lasted like
Right.
8,000 miles. Like it was unbelievable how long it went. And I just always kept it 38 in the front, 40 in the rear. Like I was religious about it, and it lasted forever.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, then the other thing
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Good point.
I always use the Bridgestone Bt45s on pretty much all of the bikes that I build, except the ones.
Isn't that a sport bike tire?
Yeah, but they make them in like vintage.
You can get them in a lot of sizes.
Vintage like rim size stuff too.
Hmm.
They're a great, not only like performance tire, medium performance tire, but they're like
Nice.
a multi-compound tire as well. So it's a little harder compound in the center of the tire, so
That's
you can
great.
get longevity out of it. But I mean, it's potentially like a 8 to 10,000 mile tire. But you also have like the sticky outer side too. So if you really want to dig in, it's there. And it has somewhat of it's like a hybrid of like a vintage tread and modern tread. So it's not like full sport bike. But so they have, so like you said, they do like the Battle Axe is the series, and it's like BT45. They have like BT like 40 something. I don't know. They have different ratings, but that's kind of more like performance based.
Those are what I always ran on my GSXRs. I thought they were great tires.
Oh, they're amazing. I mean, I haven't
excellent
looked
sport
at
bike tires.
Tires in a long time because I've been kind of away from motorcycles for a while now. But yeah, I mean that's still, I would say, my favorite
I've
tire.
realized now, back in the day when I only had one bike at a time, I realized I'd spend a lot more on putting the best tires I could buy on it. And now I don't have as much time to ride as much, and I always have multiple bikes, so I hate to say it, but like I cheap out on tires.
Yeah.
But I usually run Shinkos on everything because I've been running them for 15 years now and always had good luck with them.
Yeah,
and they're
honestly,
really cheap.
Shinkos are not bad tires. I mean, if you're not asking a lot from them, I mean they're great tires and great price point. And
well, I ran a brand new set on my Dyna down to for the trip down to San Felipe and back last year, and that was, so I put like what, I don't know, 2,500 miles on them or something,
and fully loaded.
And I was
loaded
pretty impressed at the tread wear on those after that trip. Like, that was it was pretty amazing. Like, they were very like, fully loaded, a lot of riding, a lot of shitty road too, and some dirt, and like it was ridiculous. And those things they held up amazingly well. So I was kind of sold on it. I put a new set on now that I swapped mags onto that bike. I put another set of them on there because they're just like, it was $130 or something for front and rear, 150. I don't remember. It's so cheap. It's just like And now that a bunch of us went in on a tire machine that we have sitting at work now, so it's like I can swap tires for free, and there's just no point. It's like anytime you have any doubt, throw a new set of tires on it. So it's pretty sweet. But what about, you had a note in here about like the date codes, which I think is a good point. I don't remember how to read them. I know I've looked it up before, but you can certainly look up a year, like a manufacturing date.
And the
stuff.
first two is the week,
tire, right?
which is not necessarily important. So it could say 62, or no, 52 weeks in a year. So it'd say 50, or sorry. Right, yeah. That was that really long year in 2020. So the first one will be the week.
Like, what year was that, Bill?
Yes. So it's week.
62.
It's week and then year, and the year is the really one you want.
Okay, I just pulled it up.
Because a lot of times people are like, "Oh, these tires are great,"
remember.
and then you look back and it says,
"I know I've
09
read this before, but
on it, 3509 or something."
Right.
So I feel like it gets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's four numbers, and the first two are the week it was made, and then the last two are the year it was made.
What if the tire was made in 1998, though?
Well, kind of rule of thumb with all tires is 10 years is kind of like the shelf life, or I think it might even be 5 years. I don't remember. So,
but have you ever actually had a bad tire, like that was not damaged?
That's what
did not
usually
have
is
bad
lurking.
tread
Is
wear?
all the time.
Have you actually
even
had
if
a
it's
tire
not
that you thought
cracking
was
yet, if it's
suspicious?
old as
Let me
get
also
out,
say that was not dry
you
rotted
lean
or
into
anything.
that
There's
thing
no
and-
visual damage.
I'm just
okay, no.
Right. It's just like you said, $130. That's the best insurance you'll ever get. And so
The sidewall might be, I agree.
Yeah.
No, true.
Or just do a burnout, get
call your buddies, get a camera,
corners
burn
just
the
kind
tire
of
out.
rubbed up, and get some fresh rubber going, and you got another.
Yeah, there you go.
No, don't.
That's
do
it.
that. I mean, it's.
No, but do that when you have a set of tires you're changing and you
but
need to smoke them out.
Don't think
because that's
that
the
freshens them up. It lasts for maybe a ride. Trust me, I know.
What do you mean, dude? They do that at the start of every drag race. It's clearly the way to get a set of tires ready to rock. Just a sweet burn ski, and then you hit the
Yeah,
road. That's
but,
the best advice ever.
especially with like older bikes, that's when you're going to run into, say, old tires. For the most part, they've been sitting.
I think it's
and
10.
They'll have some dry
10's the
rot.
one that everybody
But
really ought
I
to
wanna
replace
say,
them. I've had
I've
either
had 5 or 10
tires
years.
on my
I don't
bike
remember which
for
is-
5 years. That that set that ran
Yeah.
8,000 miles. Like yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Personally, I'll run a set of tires up to 10 years old if they look perfectly good and I don't have any
exactly.
doubts about
So
them.
this is
But-
where it's not like 10 years. Okay, now I have to, because that's shelf life. That's like that's
right.
indoors,
So-
covered. It's not getting beat by the sun. So if you've had a bike that's been sitting outside, or even just gets hit partially with the garage door open, that is drastically going to shorten the lifespan of that, say that shelf life. So don't necessarily go by that, but dry rot, I mean, that's like cracks. If you see that, don't just get rid of it. It's not worth.
Yes.
Because that's what you see also. I mean, and you can feel a tire. It's like, okay, this feels pretty hard. It's taken me a bit just to put my fingernail in it.
I think you're safe to make
if you have
make a
any
test ride. Like
doubts or
I've gone to
concerns,
see a bike, and I'm like, these
it
tires
is
are
so
total
much
shit.
wiser
I'll fill them
just
up
to
if they're
replace
holding
it.
the air. I'll go
Well,
up and down the road
best-
to make sure the bike, but just that's it.
Oh,
That's part
absolutely.
of my
Sure.
nope.
Yeah. Just don't. Yeah. Just for the most part, don't hit freeway speeds.
That's good advice.
Because the more.
Well, think about just the toe.
lot
Like
worse.
best case,
Yeah.
you get a flat and you don't go down. Just the toe
Yeah.
is your cost of a set of tires. And if you do go down, then it's certainly a lot more than
Yeah.
the cost of tires. So
but,
absolutely worth doing.
Oh, well, I guess that usually just shows itself. Valve stems also.
Yeah, that's a good one. Any cracking or any weird,
'Cause-
shit on the rubber of the valve stem.
Yeah, because that's just. I mean, even you throw a new tire on it, and the valve stem's bad and old. So majority of them are rubber. I mean, that's going to be a leak point, or just a total failure at some point, and then you're stuck. You're.
What about old stuff? Okay, what's everybody's opinion on old stuff with tubes? Sorry, not necessarily the tubes old. What I mean is like older bikes or dirt, dual sport or whatever, something with spokes. It uses tubes.
I've done both.
Do you just change the tube to be safe every time you change tires? Do you reuse tubes? What do you guys think? I've done both. I don't feel strongly either way.
I've
but
always done tubes with tires.
It's not expensive. It's certainly not a
20
deal breaker, I think.
$20 to $30, depending on the size. Per tube.
I feel like if you've ever had a tube tire go flat, they're fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
Because they go flat so fast. There is no
and you
there
can't
is
repair
no
it.
slow
You
leak
have
down.
To well,
or
you can
anything.
repair it, but
well, it's not even that. It's just that I feel like the flat you get from a tube blowing is so sudden and is so horrendously worse compared to a leak down from a tubeless tire that generally you don't blow the sidewall out or break the bead off or something. Like you'll get a puncture and it'll you'll feel that it's losing pressure.
Yeah.
But a tube going flat is you get
it's right away.
You get no notice.
Yeah.
You go from speed to just slop wobbles everywhere.
Well,
in
and the
2
thing
seconds.
is too is the tube,
and that's not fun
for most tube type rims. The tube is what actually is seating the tire to the or seating the tire to the rim. So I mean, more than not, when I've gotten a puncture with a tube rim or tube wheel, it debeads also. And that gets sketchy as shit. And also if it's like an original rim that's great condition, it can really hurt that rim edge. But,
I think it's best to replace.
Oh yeah,
but it's also if you don't. Well, I'm assuming you're if you're paying somebody that knows what they're doing, then great. Changing tires yourself is totally doable. But also, if you're not familiar with changing a tube type tire, make sure you're careful doing it, because you can easily pinch a tube and everything looks great until you get some couple miles on it, and then
40
you're going
40
down.
minutes and
Or
we've
not
only
going
done
down,
one.
but your tire's going flat real fast. So, okay, well, sweet. I think we got some good coverage on tires. What what about? Okay, let's talk about chains, chain or belt or whatever, tension.
Yeah,
because that's a pretty common maintenance thing, and I feel like it's not too overlooked, but it certainly can get ignored until it gets real bad. Let me tell you this real quick, because I had this happen. My buddy in college, One Arm Rob, who I think I talked about before, a good friend of mine. This dude, I clearly remember this. He had a KZ440 at the time. It was the Kawasaki LTD or whatever kind of cruiser thing, and he never adjusted. Look it up. It's just a 80s Japanese cruiser. It's not an amazing bike or anything, but I clearly remember this. He had one of these. He never adjusted the chain on this thing for the longest time, and we rode a lot in college. And he called me one day because I was working and I was near where he broke down. And so he calls me. He's like, "Hey, can you come pick me up?" And I went over to get him. He just said my bike's broken. So I went over to pick him up. He had not adjusted his chain in so long that the chain literally snapped on the freeway. He was at the 805 at Sereno Valley, and was on the 805 getting onto the 5, which was blasting. Chain let go, whipped around off the sprocket so hard that it just shattered the crankcase. I mean, flipped up underneath and just tore a hole the size of your fist out of the bottom of the crankcase. And then it dumped, instantly puked oil all over the ground. Tire went over it. He fishtailed all across the freeway and somehow didn't dump it. And I went and picked him up, and it was just like, the bike was just trashed. I mean, it was like not even worth fixing. But anyways, adjust your chain, because that bike, there was nothing wrong with it and it was in good shape. Had he done, a chain adjustment at any point, that wouldn't have happened. But I clearly remember a couple days before riding with him, and you could hear it was so sloppy. You could hear it banging around and actually jumping links like on the rear sprocket. Man. I mean, it was so bad. It was just like, So,
and
that's an extreme case.
Like,
don't
probably cut a pizza with the sprocket.
500-600 miles, you're supposed to.
They were pretty bad. Yeah.
You're supposed to lube and clean your chain.
It's
yeah.
If you just replaced it, I would say like after the first 50, go back and recheck it, retension
it,
because they do have like an initial first kind of break in, let's just say, stretch, and then after 50, I'd say I think we can 50 to 100 miles. I mean, I wouldn't take it to 100, but honestly, like one really good ride, I'd say, which is about 50 miles. Just take it back and then just retension it, and you should be good for a while.
I feel like a lot of people avoid that, especially new to riding, because you feel like you need to take it to a mechanic or something to do, and you don't want to pay for it or whatever, which I understand, but that's absolutely the kind of thing you should learn to do yourself, ASAP.
100%.
Because it's not difficult once you figure it out or do it once or twice, and it can literally save your bike if you. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous.
Again, what a waste! What a waste of money. A chain will last you a long time.
It just illustrates the point that it can be really bad if you ignore it forever.
1 to 1.5 inches.
So,
and that's probably 1 to 1.5. Yeah.
I just do like rule of 2 fingers.
Yeah, 2 fingers. Yeah, exactly.
Was it this?
Yeah, and it's just, and what you'll find is it's just better to do it than to be concerned about, like, you don't need to. What always pisses me off on the Harleys is they tell you, you need this stupid Harley tool to put underneath the belt. So the belt adjustment on a Harley is basically the same thing as a chain tension adjustment. It's the same thing. You're just setting how much slack is in the belt, and it adjusts the same way. It's not like,
well, they want you to
science.
Use like a load.
Yes, like a little spring-loaded tool that you put underneath, and then you measure the deflection of the tool, and it's just like, dude,
you can use a zip tie. I forgot how, but you use a zip tie or
stupid.
something.
Nobody except a like Harley dealership mechanic has the ridiculous
Exactly.
spring-loaded belt tension
Yeah.
tool.
Or
And what I've found is like you just, as long as you adjusted it and you set it to something reasonable, then it's fine.
Yeah.
You'll never have a problem.
and they
with
just
it,
don't
ever.
do burnouts with a belt.
No, I've done plenty of burnouts with the belt.
Well,
That's
he
not
just
a problem
lost
at
a
all.
year every time he did.
Oh, I don't. What, the belt lasts 50 years? What do I care? The only belt I've killed on a Harley was getting a rock stuck in between, riding it off road, which I shouldn't have been
Yeah.
doing, and getting a rock stuck between the belt and the pulley.
Oh, I've destroyed a chain taking a bike off road that I shouldn't have on my cross country
What-
trip.
What bike?
The CB550
Oh, what was
I
that?
went cross
Oh, yeah.
cross country on.
Yeah.
Not
Well, then you got to use a better chain so it can break the rocks.
We
you
got
know?
to keep rocking. We got.
I mean, you
we got
clearly
10
weren't
minutes.
using a
We're-
hardened chain.
I'm not going to get into this story because it's a long one. It'll come up again.
All right, let's keep going. So anyway, so chain adjustment. Look, like we talked about before, you can always find a service manual for this stuff,
Mhm.
and the procedure's generally the same. Once you kind of learn how to do it on one thing, most drive belts or chain or whatever adjustments is the same process. It's a threaded adjuster on either side of the swing arm, and it's really, pretty simple. And
Mhm.
what works on one bike will work on most. So it's, it's not the kind of thing to overthink. And I really stress that the more important thing is that you do it, not that you do it perfectly. It's that you
Absolutely.
learn how to do it.
And when you
You
have
know?
the manual, which you should have when you get a bike, what we talked about last episode is it'll tell you every step possible to adjust the chain
Right.
to it. Even to their specs if you want to stick to it. But if you don't know,
Yeah.
just 2 fingers, that's pretty much the rule of
Yeah.
thumb there. Check your sprockets.
Especially the
If they're like kind of
Yeah.
pointy a little bit, it'd be wise to replace those too. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, you'll notice when they get weird.
Mhm.
Look up a picture of a brand new sprocket, and you'll see how evenly spaced the teeth are
Yeah.
and perfectly
well, you can
kind of rounded to cup the chain links.
you can also hear a chain that is super slacked out. Like when you're at a dead
Yes,
stop
absolutely.
and then getting going, you'll hear that chain snap once it's under
Yeah.
load. And that's honestly that's always been my indicator, which probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
But chains are pretty
well, an
cheap
unevenly
too, if you-
worn sprocket will tell you too,
Yeah.
because you'll hear the chain kind of clicking off
Mhm.
of it or snapping
Absolutely.
off the teeth because it's hanging up. That's a really quick indicator that you better do something.
Yeah, and
before it
you
gets
don't want
worse.
to blow up or crack a case too if a chain lets go,
Yeah, that's
or
that's
lock
a,
up
you
your
know,
rear tire if it gets in and jams
Right.
up in between like the swing arm and sprocket
Right.
or wherever.
Well, you're trading 20 minutes of
Oh, God,
maintenance
yeah.
for potentially
Mhm.
catastrophic damage, or
not
at the
let
very least
alone
a $50
your,
chain
your
or whatever.
calf. I mean, because that can swing around and just rip
Yeah.
your leg apart.
Yeah,
So, I mean, it is a serious safety precaution to make sure
Yeah,
your condition
100%.
of your chain or belt is good. Well, I'm
Right.
glad we spent extra
Yeah.
time on at least chain because that is an important one.
I've seen the outcome of it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's pretty gnarly.
Mhm.
It literally could take your foot off if you'd have to be pretty unlucky, but it's possible.
Yeah.
So
I've had
it's not.
a
It's
friend show
not
me a
worth it.
picture of a chain letting
Probably
go,
got some
and
force
it
behind it. Yeah.
took a chunk out of his aluminum swing arm. Like,
Yeah.
it's,
Oh, I believe it.
it can cause some real traumatic damage.
What? I have a picture somewhere of that motor damage, and I'm not kidding. It was the size of your fist, like literally a hole the size of your fist cracked out of the crankcase
Yeah.
from the chain hitting
Flip
it.
flops.
That, and if that was your foot, I mean, unless you were wearing boots, like you would, if you had tennis shoes on or something, you're
Mhm.
done. So
Another
yeah.
reason to always wear
Flip-flops,
at least
yeah.
protective
I mean, high.
gear
You know,
with
some
those
high
jeans
vis,
when
some
you're
high
riding.
vis. You know, Kevlar.
Yeah, or at least Kevlar lined flip flop for
Oh
riding,
my God.
safely
Come
in
on.
the summer. That's
You have power of the
That's what
Dynabro
I'll
in you,
do.
though.
yeah, high vis. I'm sure my high top vans would have
So
protected.
battery
me in
and
that
Yeah,
case, which I
charging
wear all
absolutely.
the time riding.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a Dynabro thing. It's fine.
Uh,
All right, let's talk about batteries and charging systems because that's
then they
a
call
good
Evan.
maintenance thing. It really is that gets overlooked a lot.
Mhm.
Yep.
Nobody ever checks that stuff until it stops working.
yeah, and then you're
So-
stuck.
And then you come to RM Stater, sponsor needed, by the way. Then you come to RM Stator and you buy a stator or a regulator because your charging system doesn't work. Yeah, no, I can definitely talk a little bit about that. That's all we do. But as far as maintenance is concerned, there's not a ton you need to do. Your electrical system doesn't really require preventative maintenance other than if you had, let's say, a really old bike, or maybe you live somewhere like, with a lot of humidity or something or near the beach. I don't know. You might have like corrosion or anything creeping into the connectors. That can cause some problems. And on any new bike you buy, I don't think we mentioned this before, but I probably should have. It certainly doesn't hurt to pull some connectors apart and check what the terminals look like. Because a bike can look perfect, but you could take the connectors apart and see that you get some green corrosion or oxidation or whatever creeping onto them. Yeah, not brand new, right? Yeah, new to you. But that kind of stuff can cause all sorts of weird electrical problems when to the outside everything looks perfect.
Yeah, especially because it operates off of resistance. And
yes, and increased resistance and shitty connections causes crazy problems that you can spend all sorts of time trying to track down, and it could just be a bad connector. But as far as your charging system goes, there's no real regular maintenance to be done, but most bikes don't. Most modern bikes don't have any sort of voltmeter
when it drops
certainly not
below
an
a certain
ammeter
amount of
they might
to
have
tell you any.
Because
like
Beamers
dummy
had those
light
back in
that
the
comes on,
70s,
like newer
when you drop
bikes
below
at least,
1,000,
it's below a
generator
certain
light comes
threshold.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, the generator lights, the warning lights.
Yeah.
But like those old systems, they didn't actually do that to help you. Like, I mean, they put it on the dash and like it was seen as like a warning thing to like tell the rider your charging system wasn't working. Maybe I'm wrong, but this is just my opinion. That shit was only done because they literally had to use some small resistive element, which was that little indicator light, to jumpstart the field coil, to jumpstart the electromagnet. So they had to do that anyways to make that type of system begin charging.
Yeah.
And then if you had to do it, you might as well make an indicator light that would have the side effect of telling the rider your charging system wasn't working. But my theory is that's a total bullshit. They did not design that to be good guys and tell you your charging system was not working.
It was out of necessity.
Yes, that's my feeling. But because it probably caused more problems than anything else with people wondering, hey, why the hell is my generator light on when my bike's idling? Something's wrong.
Yeah.
And there was nothing wrong. That type of system just can't really charge your battery much unless you've got the motor revved up.
I'd say a good health condition is. I'll let you go with this. This is your specialty.
Well, the easiest. Here's easy, quick test, and this is, as far as I'm concerned, this is the only regular maintenance thing you do for your charging system. Of course, if you suspect anything, have your battery.
You'll hear it if you start. It's like
some sort of test to
like
indicate it's in good shape, or
this
replace
battery's
it.
either
Batteries
getting
aren't
old
that
or it's
expensive.
needed to be
No point
charged,
running
or
yeah, slow starting, right?
Well, what I was thinking was just take even just a cheap $15, $20, whatever it is, multimeter from Harbor Freight or wherever, and just put it while the bike's running. Just throw it on the battery terminals and just see what it's charging at. If you're at say, what's the charging threshold? It's like 12,
so
7 minimum, or like 14.
It totally depends on your charging system and what load you have on it, what lights are on, blah, blah, blah. But let's just say, total rule of thumb, you should see most modern or fairly modern, let's say 1980s and up, should be setting at idle somewhere around 13 volts, 13 and a half volts, somewhere around there.
And with RPM,
that tells you
like 14,
you're breaking even. And pretty much every relatively modern solid state voltage regulator will regulate around 14.6 volts. And there's a lot of overlap. It could be 14.7, 14.8. Or if you have a poor battery or a lot of lights on, or your heated grips on or something, maybe it'll be 14.1. I don't know. But the point is, you see a reasonable idle voltage, which is 13 or so, and then you rev the motor up. I always say 5,000 RPM because that's the point where you're for sure at the maximum output of the charging system. And you should see the voltage increase until the regulator limits it, which 14.5, 14.7, whatever.
That's
is.
why it's called a voltage regulator, because it regulates the amount of voltage going to the charging or to the battery.
Yep.
And it usually dispels that with heat. So that's another reason.
Yeah, correct.
That you want to keep your voltage regulator in somewhere where it can actually get some wind, or at least air cooling.
Yeah, that's always best.
But I'd say that's the first check. Another thing I want to mention about batteries is most of the time, not all, they'll have a date of manufactured.
Yeah.
Rule of thumb for me is 5 years.
Yeah.
Like if it's past 5 years, I'm replacing that thing.
Yeah.
With most power sports batteries, that's pretty much the lifetime. You know, generally
it may
if
still
they lasted
run
that long,
but I mean
it's not ideal.
Yeah, it could easily just go out at any point, and then you can always bump start a bike, but it's not always fun.
Yeah, but it depends on. Remember that trip we took to that?
Yeah, you're right.
That camp out or whatever. Do you remember that shit show?
Of course I do.
Oh my god,
That
longest day of my life. I don't know.
Gosh.
What was your buddy on? A CB 500 or something?
CX. CX.
Oh, it was a CX. We took this trip.
No,
Max,
it was a CB 650.
No, it was a CB. I'm pretty sure it was a CB.
It was a CB 650.
We rode from San Diego up through the mountains, like totally
We
went.
don't have time.
Instead
for
of a direct
this
route,
is a
we
long
went.
one.
I'm not going to tell the whole
Yeah.
story. We just went way out of our way to do some rad riding, going up to this like motorcycle rally camp out thing in like kind of central California. And we went like way out of our way, dicked around all day and some rad riding. And this dude, one of their buddies on an old CB had the charging system fail, original charging system on like a 70s or early 80s CB.
It was a 80 CB 650.
Yeah. That thing tanked hard.
the
And
worst.
the end of the day, we were having to jump start that thing. We had a couple jump boxes
Yeah,
and we were just
exactly.
limping this poor bike along
Oh man.
all day long.
We finally
got to the campground
finally
at
rented a
midnight or
motel,
something.
shoved the bike in there, and then I
was so
I was
ridiculous.
riding it because it was just the right
my
thing
God.
to do, and we swapped bikes, and then I went
Nice.
busting nuts with Jared the rest of the way, and then
That's right. That's
the
right.
next day we picked it up with a trailer from the
Oh, my
motel.
It was ridiculous. We
Yeah.
rolled into the campground at midnight, took a bunch of shots, and
Passed out. I think I
It
fell
was-
asleep in the bed of someone's truck.
Yep.
that
oh my
night.
god, it was an
Yeah.
interesting trip. It was fun.
It
Though. We
was,
had a good time.
it was a lot of fun.
Anyways, check your charging system. That could have been avoided.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I would say it's not a like.
Yeah.
I don't want to overstate it. It's not like a critical,
Especially
like,
if you-
regular maintenance thing.
If
Do
it's
it
a new
once
bike
week,
to you, and
but
like we talked
you
about
should
before, now
absolutely
you
do that
know when
once a year.
now you
or
know when
twice a
things
year.
have been done,
Definitely.
and
Like,
make
just
sure
get the new
everything's
battery.
working
And
well.
there'll be
Because like we just
indicators.
talked about,
If it's questionable, then get her done. They're $100 usually, somewhere in that range. And again, right,
absolutely.
there's
Yeah.
your cost of a tow and a hotel room
Yeah.
and all this stuff. You know,
right, and it's much better than breaking down
yeah.
somewhere. Yeah. Well, and on the flip side of that, it's a great idea on a long trip. If you're taking that bike somewhere pretty far away, great idea to have a lithium battery jump starter box with
Yeah,
you.
absolutely.
Is a really cheap security.
Yeah.
And what was the other thing I was going to say? Taking a spare voltage regulator with you is on a really long trip is never a bad idea
Oh,
either, because they don't take up much
100%.
space. They don't require disassembling the motor. Generally, two
Yeah.
bolts and a plug, so it's a very easy thing to swap, and it's certainly something that fails. So,
Yeah.
but we'll talk more about electronics. And stuff
Yeah,
in the
we've got a
future.
whole
That's not the focus
podcast
here.
on just charging systems in general too.
So, I like
Yeah.
some of our other stuff here. We have that's
so
kind of like
good
I
to
think
keep
a
your
regular
I mean,
maintenance
if you
stuff.
if
But
you leave a battery through the
some
winter,
good advice
it's
here.
usually
Get a
toast.
battery tender. I really
If you
like
keep it
that.
on a
I
tender,
always-
you'll
I've
get
like 10
years
of
and
them.
years out of it.
Leave
It's just
most
again,
bikes sitting on them.
exactly.
$20 insurance policy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's just, I mean, tender.
Yeah.
It could also be battery maintainer or battery. It's just maintaining that all of those cells and
Yeah.
that battery just stay fresh and healthy.
I don't even use the battery tender brand anymore. I've had more of those fail
Yeah.
than I have of anything else, and
Yeah,
I
you-
probably have had 25 different battery
You can get 'em at
charger
Harbor
brands
Freight,
over
too.
the years.
Sponsored by Harbor
And
Freight.
they're cheaper, and honestly, I've never had one fail. But the battery tender brand, multiple failures. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No.
And I've got some cheap ones on Amazon that have been running for 5 years at work. I mean, they just
Yep.
like don't quit. They're
Little pigtail.
Yeah, they usually come with the plug. I don't know if those plugs are
So
called,
good.
but you just
Yep.
you bolt
Yeah.
them onto your battery and then just tuck it away somewhere. When you want to throw it in there, you just plug it in. All done.
Yeah.
Unplug, cap it, stuff it somewhere.
Well, and you can get adapters. That's the standard SAE style battery plug, and you can get
Heated
adapters
jacket.
for that to a USB charger and all sorts of stuff. I use that on trips all the time to plug in a charger for my phone or something.
Let's
And
keep
it's,
Nice.
all the rest of the time it's just a battery
Yeah.
charger plug. So certainly pretty useful. So yeah, we talked some more, or we have some more notes here about like various fluids and stuff that is certainly good to check. I'd say at least once a year, checking your coolant. Oil changes need to be done regularly. I think we kind of mentioned
Mr.
that
Brady.
before. But coolant and checking your
Don't
filters,
buy that
like
from a
fuel
mechanic.
filter, air
Mechanic
filter,
owned.
oil filter, we'll assume was done with an oil change, unless you're Brady. Yeah, mechanic owned.
Well, I refresh everything when I let it go.
Which is silly. Yeah.
But yeah, filters. Your other filters, I feel like air filters on a motorcycle are pretty often
No,
ignored.
yeah,
right?
absolutely.
I mean, I know
I haven't,
it happens a lot.
I don't think ever received a bike if it had an air box that a filter was in it that didn't have leaves, debris, just all mashed in it
Yeah.
ever before.
They're just never changed.
But just check and top off coolant if needed. You don't necessarily need to flush and drain. And this next one too is drain the fuel and fill it with fresh. It's not necessary. If it's been a bike that's been sitting for a long time, definitely get
sitting
rid
is
of that
critical.
old fuel. Drain the float bowl. A lot of bowls will
Well,
have.
I've literally seen fuel go bad now in I remember this clearly. 3 months, I had a bike not start because fuel went bad in 3 months. And I checked so many other things thinking there was just no way, because I knew I had filled it up recently, and it was literally fresh gas in it and it ran perfectly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that blew my mind. I mean, maybe that was just a bad batch of fuel or something. I don't know. But that was really excessive to have gone bad that quickly. But it absolutely was. It wasn't plugs. It wasn't anything else. It was just bad fuel. So that can certainly make a difference for a bike sitting through the winter or something. If it's a bike I know I'm not going to ride at all, I put stable in it in the tank and then run it for a bit to make sure it gets into the carb. That can save you a carb clean if you had a bike sitting for 4 or 5 months in the winter.
Yeah, absolutely. If you have the Virago, it'll save you a lot of headache pulling those cards like we talked about.
Pulling those nightmare carburetors, yeah. Yeah. I like check for missing cotter pins. That's a good point, because I feel like nobody does, and
definitely not.
you could easily have an axle nut or something that required a cotter pin
or
that's been missing for
like
years.
if it's a rear drum, it's got the brake stay, or like like that's failed on me where I built
had that
it.
happen.
I forgot to put the cotter pin in there and it backed out.
Yeah.
Well,
I remember I had a Virago actually right when I moved out here, and for whatever reason it was missing the bolt that held the brake drum stay to the arm, and I learned this the hard way. I replaced that bolt with a really cheap soft bolt, and it was new, but it was really total shit.
Oh yeah, that
and I
needs to
used
take
it there.
some
So
force, defindefinitely.
So it wasn't a cotter pin thing. It was just I put a new bolt and nut on it, thinking no problem, never have an issue. That thing
sheared
literally sheared off. The whole brake drum spun, and it wrapped the brake arm, like the rod from the brake pedal, twisted it all the way around the axle until it
man.
locked up the rear wheel solid. And I almost shit myself when that happened. And it was all because of
Sorry,
I
that's my
used
cat.
the totally inappropriate
Cat, get out
bolt
of here.
in the wrong place. So yeah, that makes a difference. Use the right part
Absolutely.
too. Don't cheap out on hardware.
Yeah.
Well, just from this view, it looks like you're getting a fresh butthole view from your cat.
Yeah, he got a nice eyeful over there.
Absolutely. But yeah, we're
All right, what
we're
else we
nearing
got?
the
Anybody
end.
got anything else?
Give it a good clean.
I like don't put a shine
Oh,
on tires.
God.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
on a motorcycle.
So this is more like if you're a first-time bike owner, that tire shine that you put on your cars, like sidewall stuff.
Just
no,
just
do
carry
not
the can next to the tire,
even-
and your bike will
Don't
fall over.
even let it be in the same room as a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, I
Yeah.
like to take oil and
Absolutely.
smear it around the tire so it gets real black.
I don't know. I've seen Max wax his tires for years. Yeah, just to
Yeah,
get that shine,
exactly.
you know.
Honestly, if you put tire shine on motorcycle tires, just even if they're brand new tires, buy new tires, get them mounted or mount them yourself. Do whatever you need to do. Just get rid of them because
That's not a good
it's
idea.
not going to go away by the time it hasn't dropped the bike.
Yeah, definitely important when you only have two
Yeah.
tires to deal with.
No, I think that was pretty
right
good.
on.
I
Well,
think
All right, we
That's
got any
fairly
other
informative
maintenance
and
things? What do
well-rounded.
you think, Max? You got anything else you can think of?
yeah.
Yeah, I think we got pretty good coverage here. Nice. Well, all right then. Let's
Oh,
wrap
do you
this
know
up.
what?
We'll be on to.
we mentioned the last one about checking cables as far as tension.
I just fucking buy new ones.
like adjusting the cables.
I never
Oh,
do.
yeah.
It's so
but
cheap
we
to
didn't
buy
talk
new
about
ones these
lubing
days.
It'd be a good idea to.
Yeah, I never
Yeah.
do personally, but I know you
Dude,
can.
they're-
I don't think
they're
I
so
ever
brutal.
have.
You can
and
never
I did
get
actually
it to
buy 'em.
go-
I remember
the
this. I
fluid to
bought
go
a
down, it
Motion
comes
Pro
right back out.
cable luber thing one
Well,
time.
that was your mistake.
thinking I would do it. Never used it. Yeah, I just replace them at this point. I'd never bother.
I used to use a Ziploc
but I know you. I
bag.
know you can. I've read about that, right? You like fill it with oil and tie it
So
around
just the
top
corner
of,
of
the
a
cable and-
Ziploc bag, you just lob off, and then
Yeah.
you just stick the opening of one end of the cable, and then just tape it around,
Right.
seal it, and then you just hang it, and then just put some oil in it, and it just.
But are
gravity
you
feeds
removing
through.
the cables
Yeah.
from the
Oh,
bike
yeah, yeah.
entirely?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like by the time I do that, I would rather just replace the cable.
Well, yeah. What is it?
You know?
$25. Of course.
But wait, we were talking to Evan in 2022. So if we were talking to Evan,
Well, that's where I
know,
was
like
getting
15
at.
years
Yeah,
ago,
100%.
I would not say that.
Amongst other
yeah,
things.
I would be spitting in that cable
Yeah.
trying to get another like
Keep-
100
keep
miles
it.
out of it.
Yeah.
So
So that's
Yeah, well,
I mean that's
keep it.
that's
look,
where my brain was
keep
too
it
when I
lubed.
was
Just
doing
keep it
using
lubed, Max.
I didn't even buy
Yeah.
the tool for it. I used a Ziploc bag. Come on.
Look, just keep her lubed,
Yeah.
okay? I think that's the key. It doesn't matter how you do it. Just keep it lubed.
Yeah.
All right, whatever. I never said I was fucking king of maintenance here. I just at this point in my
man.
life, I just replace cable.
Yeah, exactly.
Do we know?
Back in
what
the
our
day,
next
I think I owned one
podcast
spark plug
is
for 10
Do you know
years,
what
and
the-
I used it on every motorcycle I ever had.
Oh jeez.
So I don't. Do
Oh,
you have
yeah.
a topic figured out? yet?
Yeah, I was thinking
What
well,
are you thinking?
I mean, car and truck maintenance. This is
Yeah,
just the
yeah. Might as well
yeah.
continue that series.
And then after that, we're going to start getting some cool stuff too. So
Well, I do think I wanted to say this. This would be our 5th episode here, and
Awesome.
I'm gonna work on getting our website up and running and getting these things live. I think we've got enough content built up. We should get this launched for people to listen to. So
yeah, well, let's say let's
yeah, I think
let's- after the next one I say we throw it down.
Sweet.
I think it'll be cool. We're almost there, so this will be great.
Yeah.
So we've been talking about a lot of stuff which nobody has
I'm
heard.
excited
So
for that.
I think
We
we're
can start
getting close to getting
start
it
bringing in
live,
some guests too. You know,
and
I think
then
that'll be great.
then hopefully we can start getting some real feedback for current stuff. So that'll be great.
we got to get Dan. We got to get Dano on
Yeah,
here.
no, it's good.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
love to work on that because
certainly
the
got a
more
couple.
interesting people to talk to, the
I've
better.
got 3 lined up.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
got 3 lined up at least right off the bat. So
I think we should do a ton of that. That's honestly, that's
Yeah,
just
it's
interesting.
fun.
Like it'll be really.
Well, it'd be
cool
great to
be able
get
do
Billy
that.
with his
So I'm
knowledge
looking
of
forward to
old
that.
Triumphs. Get
Yeah,
Chantel
I think
on
we
here
can
with
find a
her
bunch of our
whatever,
buddies too that would be great
80,000
to
miles
interview
worth
on
of
here and stuff. So. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
guys,
gross.
do you mind?
Did you just shart?
Do you mind closing it off for me? This just made its way to the
sure.
exit.
Yeah, no, I think we're about done.
Okay. No,
Yeah,
no, this is
he's in
liquid.
trouble. All right, well that's it. That's it. I think this was good. So thanks for joining us. We'll be back next time
See you
with
next
I
time,
guess
y'all.
car maintenance and Brady with the empty bladder, and then we can continue on. But yeah, thanks for checking out All Wheels Podcast. So we'll see you next time.
All right. Take care.
All right.
I'm feeling